Welcome to Quit to Win, the show where we explore the moments people had to let go of our destructive pattern, limiting identity, and the internal battles to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Today's guest is Joanna Zhang, award-winning founder of the Operation Genius and creator of the world's first fractional VA service, recently honored with the 2004 Stevie International Business Award for Innovation and the 2025 Best in Business International Award as Company of the Years in Australia region. She helped entrepreneurs and thought leaders scale sustainably, blending operational precision with empathy and conscious leadership. And her own journey of soul awakening and ascension has shaped how she lead and serve. At a defining moment, what made her realize staying was no longer an option in her world, no more growth opportunity. And it's a pleasure and honor to have you on the show.
It's grateful to be here. Yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joanna. So you started as a financial planner before becoming a founder.
Yeah,
What did no
that's
more
right.
growth opportunity actually look like in your earlier chapter of your career?
Oh, right. So before I become a founder, I was a professional. Yes, I came in Australia about 25 years ago as a university student. And then somehow I always felt like as a second language, I'd better become a professional. Somehow I felt like that's the standard I had better achieve. So I studied financial planning for many years and I stayed in the industry for about 10 years. And then at the opportunity that at the time, my ex-husband and I, we had a family restaurant and he needs my help. So somehow gave me a chance to quit from the corporate, like at the bank and start on my own. So that has started my journey from a professional into a business journey. However, after that, when I started to do the business, I felt like always something was missing. Actually, like I'm a very creative person, but financial planning is very logical, right? There was one psychic one day on the phone asking me she just sent something. She said, "Your life is full of gray color." I didn't know what is that. So which means I'm a very lively person.
Yeah.
But at the time when I was doing that, I literally actually go into a very dull period, like a no liveness. I didn't realize at the time until I met a business coach who started to do an exercise to divide everything in my life into four categories like incompetence, competence, excellence, and genius. And then surprisingly, I find out actually financial planning was only on my competence part, which is something I can do. I can do well, but I don't love that dearly. That gave me a chance, an opportunity for me to think maybe there's something for me to grow out of my comfort zone. Because apparently this profession I stick with, or maybe work so hard with for the past over 10 years, is not like my ultimate goal or something that I supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. So that was a triggering point for me to gradually navigate into this founding journey. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Which, yeah, incompetence, competent level, genius, and yeah, being able to kind of look inward and getting to know that, which there's something you need to develop outside your comfort zone. Yeah, a whole lot here. And also, you didn't start out as a consultant. You built a support team for your own business first. What did you have to quit believing about doing everything yourself before you let that team in?
At the time, because I was doing the financial planning, right, as explained earlier. So I started financial planning from by myself, and I was trying to do IT and marketing and a lot of things like I'm tearing my hair out.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of things was I'm not good at, and I was spending so much time. I don't like to do it, like kind of resistance, and that's the trigger for me to get. At the time, I get to know about 8 years ago. That's about, yeah. So I get to know about the VA term, virtual assistant, in the Philippines, and I started to work with the VAs. But there's a lot of challenges and hurdles as well, because at the time I wasn't really aware how to communicate with the team members. I was like a very title leader stage of I'm the founder, director. I give you the task, you got to do what I said, something like
Yeah.
that. Like, so a lot of communication challenges and hurdles. But gradually, I think at the time, when I had this challenge and when I had to figure out the solution, and make me started to feel like that many people need this kind of help as well. But I'll go back to your question about why I actually started to let a group of people in. I think there's two layers. One layer is that I was really struggled, like I tried. to do everything
Yeah.
by myself. But I'm not. But saying that, I'm not the DIY style, because some founders, they're very self-sufficient. They can figure
Yeah.
something out. But I'm kind of like, if I feel like very difficult, I don't go further.
Yeah.
And then somehow triggered me to find help, seek help, ask for help, right? So another layer can be, I actually always work with a group of people. I didn't know why. But until I had a solo awakening 4 years ago, I realized my soul mission is so powerful. It is around teamwork, and my soul mission is helping team and members grow. There we go. So all those triggering points help me to start to not to just overly lay everything on myself anymore. I started to delegate the task out. Also started to work with a group of people, even though there was a lot of challenges.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, having to kind of when you get to have problem, I think this is really lovely being that you study yourself. You get to see that, yeah, when I have problem, I can't continue until you actually more like get outsourcing and getting team that make it easier. And over time, looking back, seeing that, yeah, you always work with them, making them better and making them doing something. Yeah, it's really amazing. And also, before the operation of Genius existed, what did being stuck without growth cost you personally, not just professionally? So,
Mentioned, like while I was doing the financial planning, I could do it. I could do it well. But after the exercise, I realized it's not something ultimately I wanted to do. But the interesting thing is that at the time, we all have those transition period, right? We know something is not quite right, or we don't know where we're heading. And actually, when I look back now, at the time, I could be very confused and exploring. However, when I look back now, it's so beautiful, because that's the opportunity for us to
yeah.
really start to explore and make things happen naturally and unfold. I didn't really plan to found the Operations Genius. That was like a miracle accident,
Yeah.
I call it. But because life threw this challenge to me, and I had to face it, and I was very dedicated to figure out a solution, and I figured out a solution. And then I started to share it. That made me realize a lot of entrepreneurship, it is like that kind of journey. It's like something we're probably not really sure what it is. Probably we had a vision somehow, but not really quite sure what it is. Then we started to take that one step after another, and gradually the path started to show in front of us and started to grow us. So I felt like there's something not quite right. That's why I started to explore other options. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I think it's really lovely being that having to kind of try it out and discover that, oh, this is not something that's going to stay for long. Yeah, make it to actually start branching, looking forward to other things that speak volumes to who you really are. Amazing. And also, you have built a business model around flexibility and accountability rather than just cookie cut system. What did you have to quit copying from how operations are supported to be done in order to build something that actually fit how you actually live?
Well, I hope you understand well
Yeah.
this time. You're talking about our model, right? Yeah, yeah. Because we create the flexibility and accountability and all the things. Once again, those were my challenges. When I actually literally working with other support team or team members, or encountered different models in the market at the time for VA services, a lot of them are like, I have to find one single person filling one role, and I have to log in certain time. But I didn't have enough budget, to be honest. And then by saying that, because there's a lot of things I wanted to delegate, like a marketing or IT or something,
Yeah.
I didn't really want to figure out myself. But now I realize I probably at the time, if I push my heart, is okay, I can figure it out myself. Like a lot of founder now, like with the AI's help, I can figure out. Probably I won't go to that journey with working with others, right? But because at that particular time I was in that state and triggered this journey, which I was grateful, as well, to start working with others. So I need a flexibility on the skills, also on the time, right? So I don't want to be locked in, and I wanted to be able to have the skills to pick and choose and customize for my needs from time to time. So that was a vision. And somehow that vision started to be created along the journey when I work with others. As I mentioned earlier, it is a vision. I didn't know what it was, but because that's what I want to achieve. And I figured out a solution. And then I package up and serve, then share with others, become this entrepreneurship journey. Yeah. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, amazing,
I'm
amazing.
not
I
sure.
think you just speak volumes to it that at first it was more like a vision, though you don't know what the ending of it is going to look like. But as you start working with people, you're able to kind of see a clear pattern and being able to organize system towards achieving those particular goals. And it's really amazing. So winning international award for innovation and a company of the year is a long way from realizing there was no room to realizing there was room for you. So looking back, what specific change once you gave yourself permission to outgrow the earlier chapter where you think there was no room?
Well, first of all, I always felt there's room to grow, right? And that's the main reason I went to the award because for many years I keep seeing people has an award, this award, that award. I didn't really
Yeah,
think because I didn't know what point to have award. And then I spoke to a agent, a specialist in the
yeah,
field, and I said, what does this do? And they say, first of all, it can certainly help you with the authority position. But the second point it was that triggered me the most. She said, actually, once actually you go to the award and when the judges give you feedback, that's an opportunity for you to grow because they can see all different models, different ways of the business running in the world. So their feedback can be very valuable for us to grow and develop into the next phase. So that was triggering me to start this journey. And surprisingly, when I entered this award, we got recognized as the world first fractional
yeah,
VA services, which actually boosts our
yeah,
confidence as well. Because yeah, I've been running this model for past 8 years. It's extremely hard to be honest with you, because all this flexibility, the accountability and everything like that, there's nothing exists in the market. And I have to create my own. And I often need to fine tune and adjust along the journey. We keep growing, right? So, but even though that was very hard, that was very dedicated to push through because there's different reasons. Maybe we can talk later because it pushed me through, and then until today. And then finally, when I got to the award, I realized, aha, we're the very first one who's doing it. So maybe even the only one now. Maybe more and more people realize that fractional is a trend. So more and more people started to open to this idea and this field, which is wonderful. So that award has given me an opportunity to see where we at and be certain of our initiative on the innovation part and be certain on this journey to keep developing and grow. I wouldn't say guiding, be the pioneer. I love to be the pioneer. I mean, even though there's pioneer is something I didn't know that was a pioneer, but I now realize I have a pattern in my life. If I want something, and there's nothing exists like that, I'll create one. So,
yeah,
like for example, in the uni, I love drama, a stage performance, right, acting. But at the time, there was no such thing in the uni. Then with another friend, we create a
yeah,
club. And at the time, there was up to 80 people. We're actually into different departments. I've never run things like that, but I'm so wanted to experience that. So I created space and we're all experiencing that together. So I realized there's something in my life. Probably that's the other day mentioned to another group of ladies is talking about a creation style. I think everyone has our own creational
yeah.
style. For me, it's like, if I want something, it's not that I create.
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow become a creation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really amazing now having just that particular trait. It just make professor. Yeah, anytime you just feel like, yeah, there's not something you need to come into being, just go ahead and create it. And also the fact that filing for our award, yeah, at first it was a bit clumsy, but going all out for it boost your confidence and also give credibility to your business and in a way that actually more like, yeah, help you people to actually more like have correct feedback on how the business is doing compared to when they file it for the award. Yeah, it's really amazing, man. Thank you so much for sharing. So, what does a so aligned business decision actually look like in practice versus our purely strategic ones?
Wow. Talking about strategy, I've learned so many strategy before from different coaches and different
Mm,
programs. And I tried very hard for my business before the Soul Awakening. And I felt like I tried very hard and learned different things, but somehow it's still some blockage in it, right? So one day I asked my spiritual mentor, I said, why my business still have a blockage? And at the time they mentioned because my spiritual mentor can actually uh channeling or connect with the source if you believe we have a creator and download the higher wisdom, right? So basically the guidance is that strategy is no longer my challenge because I've learned enough. So, but the things they mentioning there's a blockage in me is the alignment part. At the time, I didn't understand. And then later on, one day, my spiritual mentor asked me a question. Say, she asked, "Why do you do a business show?" I said, so the guidance from higher wisdom is that I no longer need a strategy. It's not a strategy thing because from logical point of view, I've learned a lot already. You know the stuff there. But the blockage is from a soul alignment part. I didn't understand at the time. So one day the spiritual mentor asked me one question that was like a soul how to say, knocking my soul, I would say this way. Because she said, she asked me, why do you do your business, Joanna? And the very first layer is from logical. It's a good business model. Very logical, right? Because I designed this. And she asked again, think again. So I can certainly help a lot of people. I started to tap into the emotion other than the physical realm. And then because it helped me, and then she said, think again. She's not satisfied with the answer, and then I ran out of the answer from my my logical and emotional layer, and some things just speak out of my mouth. The answer extremely easy, however my action make me surprised, because as soon as I said a word, my tears was dropped. So guess what I said? I just felt has an urge feeling that it's because of unconditional love. And then my tears just dropped. And so my spiritual mentor said, there you go. Your soul knows answer. And then I suddenly realized that for the past many, many years, when I did the business, I was from a fear and a desire, which means causing me very transactional. I used to look at the people as a dollar sign and okay, first do like a pipeline, like we talk about those sort of things. I don't mean nothing wrong with it. It's just my perspective when I look at it as very transactional. So first, second, third, okay, how much money that like that, right? So people can feel it, I go, and actually the thing is that when I do things that way, because it's not aligned with my initiative, like a inner drive, so it's always twisted. So it's like a twisted for the client, twisted for myself. That's why it's not aligned. So since then, I started to adjust my intention. I decided whenever I communicate with anyone, it's from love, no longer from a fear and desire. I always be conscious of my intention, right? So it's my consciousness decision always tap in with my intention. So if it's from love and care, the surprising thing is that when I have intention from love and care, beautiful, magical things just naturally happen. And it's even becoming like now I speak to anyone. I don't even expect anything for any business. We don't even talk about a business. And a business just naturally come. How amazing is that? So I think that's about energy. While the people can feel that you wholeheartedly care about them and the solving problem and then together as a partner, well, it's intention meets intention. At the divine timing, things will just happen naturally. Yeah, so now it's so aligned. Yeah, so I realized when we do a business with a so aligned energy, it's effortlessly. It doesn't mean that we don't try anymore. We still need to try our best to do our best, right? But the rest is to leave to the divine arrangements, and at that divine let go of the expectation, the things will just happen naturally, effortlessly, according to the flow.
Yeah, amazing. This
That's
is really
what I
lovely. Unconditional love. Yeah, for the people you actually get to do it for. That really got me. Just speak volumes. So the heart of why you do what you do. It's really amazing. Now, so what is the habit you had to release to actually practice what you now teach?
well a lot. This is my soul awakening event. The thing I realized there's a lot of less lesson around us, right? So I realized one thing after the soul awakening. Before the soul awakening, same thing could happen to me many times, and until I bash really hard on the head, and then probably still don't understand it fully, but the deepest reason. But after soul awakening, I start to be aware and be conscious about whatever happening around me. There's a sign or lesson and their message for me. So I started to learn my lesson quicker, which means I started to uh end a cycle and go to the next lesson quicker. It's like in the school. I started to learn more effectively about the life lessons, right? So by saying that, when you say the habits, there's so many habits or older version of me I need to let go to become the newer version. Because if I always stay in the same state, I can't really go out of it. It's a comfort. For example, the biggest one, numbness, escape, right? So I had a pattern even until now. I still have it, but I probably less and less, and I'm aware more. Before, because I had so many same pattern happen, is because when the things happen, instead of thinking deeply, find a root reason, I would feel like numb myself, even though that was very painful. I said, that's okay, I deal with it, and escape to say, I don't need to look at it now. Things will work it out. This kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really want to take the responsibility at that particular time. That's why the same thing happened again and again. It's like the same course I didn't finish, so they asked me to do it again. But by letting go of that, I started to face those pain more upfront. It is very painful, to be honest, very painful. However, it's like if there is a scar, right? And if we're trying to just cover it, without healing, really underneath the scar is still there. I mean, the wound, not scar. The wound is still there if we don't look after well. Don't face it, just to use something for it. But if one day we're looking at it, the wound, gave a certain care and then cleanse and then or give the medicine and then they get healed well, maybe at the end I leave a little scar. It's a memory or something, but it's no longer hurting us again and again. So it's literally like that. Our life is literally like that. If something happened to us, we don't want to face it and just escape from time to time. Yeah, it's easy because it doesn't matter, like I can feel fine. I can still enjoy my life. Those kind of things. I feel like there's nothing has ever happened. The same thing will come, for example, in a relationship. If we don't learn the root lesson from it, maybe the same kind of person, if not this person, maybe there's another person, same thing happen again. In the work, the same. Family, relationship, the team members, work, we're leading the team, same thing. So I can't name all the habits already let go, like a cross-coordination, imposter syndrome, and all those sort of things. But all the things, if we decided to change, we got to really have the courage to face it.
Yeah.
And let it heal.
Yeah.
And grow out of it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, escaping numbness. Yeah, thank you so much.
I think tracing recognition is coming validation externally, right? So a lot of time, like for my journey, is that if I don't believe myself enough, I'd love to seek from external.
Yeah.
So tracing those recognition can certainly give me a voice to say, there you go, you can do it, right? But the funny thing is that if I don't really believe in myself, that's where the imposter syndrome came, where I used to have it. Like even when I won the first award, like a Stevie International Business Award, it was kind of for me, it was too easy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize, I didn't expect anything to come. And I'm like, huh, is that it? Really? I'm just lucky. No, it's not me. Like doubts, so that means at the time, even now I'm still practicing believing myself deeper and deeper, right? But the imposter syndrome is that it's not about what other people think. It's what I think about it. If I don't validate my own value, I don't believe in my value, no matter what kind of recognition out there, I still will keep tracing. That word is great. Because if I don't believe in inner strength, I keep tracing externally. However, the true impact I realize now is not just coming from external situation, like how many followers, what kind of how many awards and what kind of recognition is there. The true impact is coming because I have some true idols beside me, like my spiritual mentors, that they're living their life out as living examples. So whatever they experience, they don't even need to say something, or if when they say something, they mean it because they have integrity, they personally experience everything. That's a true impact and the inner strength, which I found very hard to achieve that way because nowadays information is everywhere.
Yeah.
From a cognition point of view, on the layer, we can all say those information perfectly. But you can feel if whether somebody has impact on impact is that you can feel some people when they say it, you don't have much feeling. But some other people when they tell about it, it's not about the language or something. It's about energy. You can feel it's true, it's real, it's powerful. Let's put this way.
Yeah.
So I would say that, I think your question is coming from external validation versus inner strength.
Yeah.
The true impact coming from true inner strength.
Yeah, amazing. True impact come from true inner strength, and the fact that, the way you get to kind of get to win recognition easily, sometimes it conflicts with imposter syndrome set in, and the fact that you keep wondering, how is that possible in the first place? Yeah, a whole lot to learn from the house. So, lastly, what does keeping your vision while letting go of control actually look like?
That's the interesting thing about soul journey, because I learned this lesson through a relationship.
Yeah.
I used to be codependent, a very much codependent person, because I felt like I need to feel beloved and, like be a certain, have a safety, those kind of feelings. Before I truly connect with source and understand the way I loved anyway, always. So at that time I had a codependency relationship and then controlling freak. And then my spiritual mentor just mentioned one sentence, said, Joe, if you can learn letting go of control from a relationship, you will help your leadership dramatically, like enormously. I didn't understand why is that, like as I mentioned at the very beginning, I was controlling freak, right? Like a title leader in the team. Like I say this, you do this way because I need a certainty, I need a safety. If something out of my scope I felt is not right, I couldn't really embrace any other possibility because
Yeah.
I felt it's not safe. My ego is trying to protect me. This my way is a highway. That's why I was like a title leader. But gradually, actually, even before the soul awakening, I already gradually grow into serving leader. Like I started to understand other people's perspective, give them room to space to form and then to develop, to explore, and have amazing results coming back. Like. But however, by doing that, I was trying to avoid the conflict, so started to become people pleasing, and people started to step on my boundary. That's before my soul awakening. So, but at the time, I was still trying to control, right? I was trying to control the conflicts. I don't want a conflicts. That's why.
Yeah.
I was still a control in a different layer. Letting go of control is a life lesson as root, but there's so many layers to go through.
Yeah.
And now, when I'm trying to balance my compassion and the boundary as a balancing act as a spiritual leader, growing into that phase now, I started to balance both parties. But go back to your question about letting go of control. How it helped my leadership is because when I realized I'm always safe, I can embrace unlimited possibilities. And unknown is known. Like I used to block out all the challenges and unknown because I don't want to dangerous. But my spiritual mentor actually from the source gave me one sentence says, actually the true essence of the self-love is to experience the self-value.
Mm.
If I was trying to control everything, allow myself to experience those challenges, how can I experience my self value? And if I don't experience my self value, I don't love myself. I don't truly love myself, right? So that goes one to the other, make me realize if I want to truly love myself, leading as example, I need to let go of control. So it actually helped me. The team dramatic, like the team dynamic has changed. A lot of autonomy started to kick in. I started to trust them, delegate more, and layer by layer, like more and more. So we started to co-create instead of I say this, you do that, and you
Yeah.
follow. So become different than
Yeah.
yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. True access. Yeah. True access is actually more like true access is true love. Is to experience true values. It's really amazing, and thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. So from all things, we would love to connect with you. How can my listener find you, and how can they connect with you?
Okay, I think the easiest way is just to go to LinkedIn. If you're using LinkedIn, just put my name there, and if there's multiple, just put operations decided. I believe the right me was show up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you. Yeah, you're reminded that growth and alignment aren't opposites, and that recognizing no more growth opportunity is itself form of self-respect. It's exactly what this audience needs to hear. And from audience who love to reach out, check the show notes. You see the link to easily reach out to her on LinkedIn. Share this with someone too who is at your corner. Remember, staying somewhere with no growth left is never the safe option. Building something that align with who you are is. It's really a pleasure and honor once again have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.